My parents called me worthless and useless, then told me to pack my things and leave. The night I was thrown away. In 2025, on a quiet street in South Atlanta, the Carter family house looked peaceful from the outside. Cream-colored walls, a trimmed lawn, warm lights glowing through the windows. But inside, that house was breaking someone. 22-year-old Ethan Carter stood in the living room with his backpack on the floor beside him. His hands were shaking, but he tried to hide it by clenching his fists. His father, Marcus Carter, stood with his arms crossed, jaw tight, eyes cold. His mother, Denise Carter, sat on the couch, her lips pressed together as if she had already made up her mind. "You think life is a joke?" Marcus snapped. Ethan swallowed. "I'm trying, Dad." Marcus laughed. "Not the happy kind. The painful kind." "Trying?" he said sharply. "You've been trying for years and you're still nothing." Denise finally spoke, her voice calm but cutting. "Your younger brother already has a job offer," she said. "Your cousin just got into grad school. And you." She shook her head. "You're just there." Ethan felt something tear inside his chest. "I applied everywhere," he said quietly. "I just need time." Marcus stepped forward. "Time." He pointed toward the door. "You're worthless. You're useless. And I'm done feeding a grown man who can't stand on his feet." Denise nodded slowly. "Pack your things," she said, "and leave this house." The words hit Ethan harder than a slap. "Mom," his voice cracked, "where do you want me to go?" "That's not our problem anymore," she replied. The room went silent. Ethan looked around, at the framed family photos on the wall, at the couch he slept on during college breaks, at the house he thought was home. He bent down, picked up his backpack, and zipped it slowly. No one stopped him. No one hugged him. No one said they were sorry. When Ethan opened the front door, the cool night air rushed in. He paused for 1 second, hoping, praying, someone would call his name. No one did. He stepped outside, and the door closed behind him. The night swallowed Ethan Carter whole. He walked for nearly an hour after leaving his parents' house, his backpack heavy on his shoulders and his thoughts heavier in his chest. Cars passed him, headlights flashing like brief moments of hope that disappeared just as fast. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Darius. His best friend since high school. Ethan stopped under a streetlight and answered. "Bro," Darius said immediately. "You good? You sounded off earlier." Ethan hesitated. His pride wanted to lie. His pain wouldn't let him. "They kicked me out," he said quietly. There was silence on the other end. "They what?" "They said I was useless," Ethan replied. "Told me to pack my things and leave." Darius didn't hesitate. "Come over. Now." 30 minutes later, Ethan stood in front of a small apartment complex on the south side of the city. Paint peeled from the walls, and the hallway smelled like old food and cleaning chemicals. But to Ethan, it felt like safety. Darius opened the door and pulled him into a hug before he could say anything. "You ain't worthless," Darius said firmly. "Don't ever let nobody put that on you." Ethan's throat tightened. He hadn't realized how badly he needed to hear that. Darius's apartment was small, 1 bedroom, a worn couch, a tiny kitchen, but it was warm. Real warmth. The kind that didn't judge you. "You can crash on the couch," Darius said. "As long as you need." That night, Ethan lay staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of traffic outside. His parents' words replayed in his mind like a broken record. Worthless. Useless. He turned onto his side and pulled his jacket tighter around himself. "I'll prove them wrong," he whispered into the dark. But deep down, he wondered if he even believed it yet. Morning came too fast. Ethan woke up on Darius's couch with a stiff neck and heavy eyes. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then reality settled in like a weight on his chest. He was no longer welcome at his parents' house. He sat up slowly, rubbing his face. His phone lay beside him, the screen cracked from a fall weeks earlier. He checked the time and jumped to his feet. "Shoot," he muttered. Today was the interview. Darius stepped out of the bathroom, tying his tie. "You ready?" he asked. Ethan nodded, though his stomach was already twisting. He had borrowed a button-down shirt from Darius, slightly big but clean. His shoes were worn, but he had polished them the night before like they mattered. They rode the bus together in silence. The building downtown was tall and shiny, glass walls reflecting the morning sun. Ethan stood outside for a moment, staring up at it, trying to convince himself he belonged inside. "You got this," Darius said, clapping his shoulder. "Walk in like you deserve to be there." Ethan nodded and went in alone. The waiting room smelled like coffee and confidence. Other candidates sat with neat folders and crisp suits. Ethan clutched his resume, praying his hands wouldn't shake. When his name was called, he followed the interviewer into a small office. The woman glanced at his resume, her eyebrows lifting slightly. "No degree?" she asked. "I had to pause school due to finances," Ethan said carefully. "But I'm hard-working. I learn fast." She nodded slowly, eyes drifting back to the paper. "We're looking for someone with more experience," she said. "And stability." Stability. Ethan knew what that meant. The interview ended quickly. Too quickly. When he stepped back outside, the sun felt too bright. The city felt too loud. He walked a block before stopping, bending over, hands on his knees. He hadn't even made it to the rejection email yet, but he already knew. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. "Your brother just got promoted. You should learn from him." Ethan stared at the message, then locked his phone. Something inside him cracked, not loudly, but deeply. That weekend, Ethan attended a family gathering he hadn't planned to go to. His aunt had insisted. "Family is family," she said. He arrived empty-handed, his stomach already tight. The living room was full of laughter, loud voices, and bragging. Cousins showed off new cars. His younger brother talked about his job like it was a trophy. "So what you doing now?" someone asked Ethan. Before he could answer, Marcus cut in. "He's still figuring life out," his father said, chuckling. Denise smiled politely. "Some people bloom late," she added. "Very late." Laughter rippled through the room. Ethan forced a smile, his ears burning. He excused himself to the bathroom and locked the door. He leaned against the sink, staring at his reflection. "You're not nothing," he whispered to himself. But his reflection didn't answer back. 2 weeks passed. Ethan applied for job after job. Rejection emails stacked up. Darius never complained, but Ethan noticed the groceries running low. The rent notices on the fridge. One night, Ethan overheard Darius on the phone. "I got him," Darius said quietly. "I just need time." Ethan sat on the couch long after the lights went out. The next morning, he packed his bag. He left a note. "Thank you for saving me. I can't be your burden." By sunset, Ethan was sitting on a park bench with nowhere to go. The city lights flickered on. And for the first time, Ethan felt truly alone. The park bench was cold. Ethan sat there long after the sun disappeared, his backpack between his feet, his hood pulled over his head. People passed by without looking twice. To them, he was just another young black man sitting quietly, blending into the city's night. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since morning. Across the street, a small food truck glowed under yellow lights. The smell of grilled meat drifted through the air, making his hunger sharper. Ethan stood, hesitated, then walked closer, not to buy, but just to stand near the warmth. "You hungry?" The voice caught him off guard. The man behind the truck was in his late 40s, tall, with tired eyes and kind ones at the same time. His apron was stained, his hands rough from work. Ethan shook his head automatically. "I'm good." The man raised an eyebrow. "Son, I've been doing this long enough to know when someone's lying." He handed Ethan a plate anyway. "Eat," he said. "No charge." Ethan's throat tightened. "Thank you," he whispered. As Ethan ate, the man leaned against the truck. Name's Raymond Lewis, he said. People call me Ray. Ethan, he replied. Ray nodded toward the backpack. You got somewhere to sleep tonight? Ethan hesitated, then shook his head. Ray exhaled slowly. I'm short a helper, he said. Nothing fancy. Long hours. Honest pay. Ethan looked up, hope flickering for the first time in weeks. I can work, he said quickly. I'll do anything. Ray smiled. That's all I needed to hear. The work was hard. Ethan woke before sunrise, cleaned the truck, prepped food, served customers, and cleaned again. His hands blistered. His back ached. But he never complained. Ray noticed. You don't talk much, Ray said one afternoon. I'm focused, Ethan replied. Ray chuckled. No. You're healing. At night, Ray let Ethan sleep on a fold-out bed in the back of the small storage space he owned. It wasn't luxury, but it was shelter. Weeks turned into months. Customers began to recognize Ethan. That young man works hard, one woman said. Ray nodded proudly. Ethan saved every dollar he could. And for the first time, no one was calling him useless. One evening, a woman in a blazer ordered food and watched Ethan work. You ever thought about business? She asked. Ethan shrugged. I'm just trying to survive. She smiled. Survival is the first step. Her name was Ms. Johnson, and she worked with a community business program. She offered Ethan a chance to train, free. Ray clapped him on the back. You better take it, he said. You didn't come this far to stay small. Ethan did, and he excelled. A year later, Ethan stood in front of his own food truck. New paint. His name on the side. His phone rang. His mother. We heard you're doing well, she said. Your father wants to talk. Ethan stared at the truck, then smiled softly. I'm busy, he replied. Ethan met his parents weeks later, on his terms. They apologized. Awkwardly. Ethan listened. Then he spoke. You threw me away, he said calmly. But someone else saw value in me. He stood. I forgive you, he said. But I won't beg for love again. And for the first time, Ethan walked away, not broken, but whole. Ethan thought he was strong. He thought walking away from his parents was the end of the pain. But some wounds don't bleed on the surface. 2 weeks after his conversation with them, business was booming at his food truck. Customers lined up every evening. His name was becoming known in the neighborhood. Yet, every night, when he closed the truck and stood alone under the streetlights, memories returned. His father's voice. His mother's cold eyes. The words that had chased him out of his own home. One night, Ray found him sitting on a crate behind the truck, staring into space. You okay? Ray asked. Ethan forced a smile. I'm fine. Ray shook his head. Son, success doesn't erase pain. It only exposes it. Ethan looked away. He wasn't ready to talk. One afternoon, someone stood in front of Ethan's truck. He looked up and froze. It was his younger brother, Jordan Carter. Jordan looked different, less confident, less proud. Hey, Jordan said softly. Ethan wiped his hands on his apron. What are you doing here? Jordan hesitated. I heard about your truck, he said. I wanted to see it myself. Ethan nodded but didn't smile. Jordan glanced around. You really did it. Ethan met his eyes. Yeah. Without anyone's help. Jordan swallowed. I never wanted them to kick you out, he said quietly. Ethan laughed bitterly. But you didn't stop them. Jordan had no answer. Silence hung between them like smoke. Before leaving, Jordan said something unexpected. They compare me to you now. Ethan raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Jordan looked down. They say I'm not as strong as you. For the first time, Ethan saw cracks in his brother's perfect image. Late one evening, after closing the truck, Ethan noticed a woman standing nearby, pretending to check her phone. "You still hungry?" he asked jokingly. She looked up and smiled. "Maybe," she said. Her name was Maya Thompson. She was a graduate student who lived nearby. She started coming regularly, sometimes for food, sometimes just to talk. "You always look serious," she said one night. Ethan shrugged. "Life will do that to you." Maya studied him. "You don't talk about your family," she said. Ethan paused. "Some stories are easier to hide than tell," he replied. Maya didn't push. But she didn't leave either. And slowly, Ethan felt something unfamiliar again. Hope. Months later, Ethan's story went viral in the community. A local blog wrote about him. From homeless to business owner, the story of Ethan Carter. The article spread fast. One evening, his aunt called him. "Your parents are embarrassed," she said bluntly. "Embarrassed?" Ethan repeated. "Yes," she said. "People are asking questions." Ethan laughed quietly. 4 years, they had called him useless. Now, the world was praising him. And they couldn't stand it. One morning, Ethan received a letter. It was from his father. A real letter. Inside was a single sentence. "Come home. We need to talk." Ethan stared at the paper for a long time. Ray watched him quietly. "You going?" Ray asked. Ethan didn't answer immediately, because he knew something deep inside. Going back home was not about forgiveness anymore. It was about truth. And truth always comes with a price. The house looked the same. Same cream walls. Same porch light. Same driveway. But to Ethan, it felt smaller. He stood outside for a long moment before knocking. His heart beat faster, not out of fear, but out of memory. The door opened. His mother stood there. Denise Carter looked older than he remembered. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "You came," she said softly. Ethan nodded but didn't step inside immediately. "Yes," he replied. "You said we needed to talk." She stepped aside. The living room was quiet. His father sat on the couch, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the floor. Marcus Carter, the man who once shouted at him, looked tired. Jordan stood near the stairs, watching silently. No one spoke at first. Finally, Marcus cleared his throat. "Sit down," he said. Ethan remained standing. "I'm fine where I am," he replied calmly. Marcus looked up at him, surprised. For the first time, Ethan wasn't the scared boy who begged for approval. He was different. Stronger. Denise sat beside Marcus. "There's something we should have told you a long time ago," she said. Ethan crossed his arms. "I'm listening." Marcus sighed deeply. "You weren't supposed to hear the things we said to you," he admitted. Ethan laughed softly. "But I did," he said. "And you meant them." Denise shook her head slowly. "It's not that simple." Jordan shifted uncomfortably. Marcus looked at Ethan again. "You were never our problem," he said quietly. Ethan frowned. "What does that even mean?" Marcus hesitated, then said the words that changed everything. "You were adopted." The room froze. Ethan felt as if the air had been sucked out of his lungs. Adopted. The word echoed in his head. Jordan's eyes widened. He looked at his parents, shocked. "You never told him?" Jordan asked. Denise looked away. "We were afraid," she whispered. Ethan stared at them, his mind spinning. "So, all those years," he said slowly, "you looked at me like I didn't belong because I really didn't." Marcus shook his head quickly. "No," he said. "That's not what I mean." But the damage was already done. Denise wiped tears from her eyes. "Your biological mother was my cousin," she said. Ethan's heart tightened. "She was young," Denise continued. "She got pregnant in college. Her family rejected her. She had no support. When she gave birth to you, she couldn't keep you. Ethan felt his hands tremble. She begged us to take you, Marcus added. We agreed. Jordan stared at them. So Ethan is still family? He asked. Yes, Denise said quickly. But things changed. Ethan's voice was low. What changed? Marcus hesitated. People started comparing you to Jordan, he said. They said you were too quiet, too slow, too different. Denise nodded. And slowly, she whispered, we began to treat you like you didn't belong. Silence filled the room. Ethan felt anger rising in his chest. So instead of loving me more, he said, you pushed me away? Neither of them answered. Their silence was the answer. Ethan stood up straight. 4 years, he had blamed himself. He thought he was lazy. He thought he was useless. He thought he wasn't enough. But now, he understood something painful and freeing. He was never the problem. Their fear was. Their insecurity was. Their inability to love fully was. He looked at them calmly. You didn't throw me out because I failed, he said. You threw me out because you never fully accepted me. Denise started crying. Marcus looked away. Jordan walked toward Ethan. I'm sorry, Jordan said quietly. I should have defended you. Ethan looked at his brother for a long moment. You were a kid too, he said. Jordan swallowed hard. Marcus stood up suddenly. We made mistakes, he said. But you're still our son. Ethan shook his head gently. No, he said. I'm the son you adopted and abandoned. The words hit hard. Denise sobbed. Marcus clenched his fists. Ethan picked up his jacket. I didn't come here for apologies, he said calmly. I came here to understand. He looked around the house one last time. This place was never home to me, he said. But I forgive you. Denise looked up. Does that mean you're coming back? She asked hopefully. Ethan paused. Then he said softly, no. He walked toward the door. Jordan followed him. Are we still brothers? Jordan asked. Ethan looked at him and smiled faintly. That depends, he said, on what kind of brother you choose to be. He stepped outside, and this time, when the door closed behind him, he didn't feel abandoned. He felt free.